What if I told you that one of Hollywood's biggest legends carried a heartbreaking family connection to a decades-old unsolved murder? A murder that not only shattered a young life, but also left behind a mystery that has haunted investigators, the victim's family, and even the Redford family for more than 40 years. And now, with the recent passing of Robert Redford, this tragic case has resurfaced, drawing attention back to a fugitive who has evaded justice for decades. Robert Redford, the Academy Award-winning actor and director, is remembered for his incredible career and timeless classics like The Sting and Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid. But behind the glamour of Hollywood, Redford and his family lived through an unimaginable tragedy in 1983. At the center of this heartbreak was his daughter, Shauna Redford, then a young college student at the University of Colorado Boulder. She was in love, happy, and in the middle of her studies. But everything changed on August 1st, 1983, when her boyfriend, Sid Wells, was brutally murdered. Sid Wells was just 22 years old, a journalism student full of promise and plans for the future. Friends and family described him as kind, intelligent, and well-liked on campus. His relationship with Shauna Redford had attracted some attention because of her famous father, but for the most part, they were just two young people building a life together. That life came to a shocking and violent end inside Wells' Boulder apartment, where he was discovered fatally shot in the head. News of the murder sent shockwaves, not only across Boulder, but also into Hollywood. Robert Redford, who was preparing to film what would become one of his most iconic movies, The Natural, immediately dropped everything to be at his daughter's side. He stood by her through the devastating days that followed, even attending Sid Wells' funeral. The story of a murdered college student would have been heartbreaking under any circumstances, but the added connection to Redford made it national news. The investigation quickly zeroed in on one man, Thayne Alan Smika, Wells' roommate. Smika was described as a troubled young man with financial issues. He reportedly owed Wells money for rent and was known to be carrying around a firearm. Witnesses claimed the two had argued about money shortly before the murder, and investigators believed Smika may have snapped in a fit of anger. He was arrested in connection with slaying, and it seemed like the case was on the verge of being solved. But in a shocking twist, the Boulder County District Attorney at the time declined to file formal charges. The reason? They claimed the evidence against Smika was too weak to take to trial. There was no clear murder weapon tied directly to him, and much of the case was circumstantial. Without a strong enough case, prosecutors felt they could not secure a conviction. For the Wells family, and for Shauna Redford, this decision was devastating. They believed the authorities had their suspect, yet the legal system failed to bring him to justice. Things became even more complicated when, in 1986, Thayne Alan Smika simply vanished. He disappeared from Colorado, leaving no trace behind, and managed to stay on the run for nearly 4 decades. Over the years, the FBI and local authorities have continued to search for Smika. He has been placed on wanted lists, and his face has appeared in fugitive bulletins. In 2010, a grand jury indicted him for first-degree murder, but by then, he was already long gone. Detectives believe he assumed a new identity and may have been living quietly somewhere in the United States, or perhaps even abroad. Despite numerous tips and leads, none have resulted in his capture. The FBI has now renewed its efforts, offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to Smika's arrest. With Robert Redford's recent death, the case has been thrust back into the spotlight, with media outlets revisiting the tragedy that forever changed his family's life. For investigators, this renewed attention is an opportunity. They hope that someone somewhere knows something about Smika's whereabouts and will finally come forward. For the Wells family, the pain of Sid's murder has never gone away. His brothers, sisters, and friends continue to fight for justice, believing Sid deserves more than to be remembered as just another cold case. And for Shauna Redford, now in her 60s, the memory of losing her first love so violently will always remain one of the darkest chapters of her life. This story isn't just about a Hollywood family touched by tragedy. It's about an unsolved murder that remains open to this day. It's about a fugitive who has managed to stay hidden for nearly 40 years, despite being wanted for one of the most serious crimes imaginable. And it's about the question that still lingers. Will justice ever be served for Sid Wells? The FBI's reward has renewed hope, but time is running out. Smika would be in his 60s today, and if he is still alive, every day he remains free feels like another blow to the Wells family's fight for closure. Perhaps with this new spotlight, and with the public once again reminded of the story through the lens of Robert Redford's death, someone will finally come forward with the missing piece of the puzzle. Until then, this haunting mystery remains unsolved. A young man's life was stolen in 1983. A grieving family has waited for answers, and a fugitive continues to evade justice.